Vayigash Elov Yehuda. Yehuda steps forward to challenge Yosef. This is a clash of two powerful individuals. Each of them has a different problem that needs to be solved. Yehuda needs to solve the problem. How is he going to honor the undertaking that he gave to his father Yaakov to protect his brother Binyamin? Yosef has a different problem. His problem is, how is he going to heal the broken, the fractured brotherhood of his family? And it ends up that the same solution solves both of these problems. But how to get there? How does one get there? Chazal and in the Kabbalah we find that this clash is understood on a deeper level and symbolizes something very profound about human life, which is relevant to all of us. In the Zohar, the Chazal start off by connecting this clash to a pasuk in Mishlei chapter 20. Mayim amukim eitza belev ish, says the pasuk. Mayim amukim, deep waters, eitza belev ish, the ideas, the plans, the solutions, the eitzas that exist belev ish, in the heart of a person. Every man and woman has within their heart hundreds of different ideas, rabos machshavos belev ish. Within the lev of a person, there are a multitude of different thoughts and different ideas. And of those ideas, one of them is the solution, Atzas Hashem hitokum. One of them is the Atzas Hashem. The problem is how to find that one idea, how to reveal that one idea. And it's often obscured by all sorts of layers of ego, of fantasy, anxieties, various different thoughts and feelings that go through the lev of a person, go through a person's heart, often obscures the mayim amukim, the deeper ideas that exist, which can be so beneficial to an individual. But that's the first half of the pasuk, mayim amukim belev ish, eitzo belev ish. The second part of the pasuk is ve'ish tevuna yidlena. You need a person of tevuna, somebody of wisdom, of bina. Yidlena is the idea to draw water, right? A deli is a bucket lower down a rope to try and get to these deep waters and extract that one idea that will solve, that is the ultimate eitzah in the life of this individual. Say Chazal, Ma'im amukim eitzah belev ish, who is the man with the lev? And that's Yehuda. Yehuda has the lev aryeh. He has the powerful heart of Klal Yisrael. He's got the passion, the charisma, the energy, the motivation, which is the heart of Klal Yisrael. Yehuda represents the Lev and ultimately the Malchus of Klal Yisrael. Yosef represents the Ish Tevuna, a man of Bina, a man of Chachma, a man of understanding. As Paro said earlier, Ein Novan v'Chacham kamoicha. I've never seen and I've never heard of anybody with the Bina and the Chachma that you, Yosef, have. So Yosef excelled in Bina and Chachma, in understanding, in deep thinking. He had the Moyach of Klal Yisrael. So Yosef, the Shem Mishmor of Sokachov says here in the Parsha that Yosef and Yehuda, throughout Jewish history, represent the Moyach and the Lev of Klal Yisrael. There are two driving forces in every man and woman. There are two ways to access the emes of life. One is through the lev, through the passions, through the heart, through the feelings and emotions and intuitions of a person. But the problem is feelings and intuitions can be very blurred and very confused by a multitude of different conflicting feelings. But you need an ish tevuna yidlena, somebody of wisdom who helps you to extract that one idea which will guide your life. That you need is the ish tevuna. And here Chazal say that Yosef had the moyach, he had the tevuna, he had the bina. Don't forget, Yosef, at the age of 30, in a flash, is able to organize the economy of the entire nation through extremely difficult times and administer the economy. And according to Chazal, he invented a new way of preserving food for 7 years. Other people tried to preserve food, but it all got moldy and rotted. He knew a way, he understood the chemistry of it, he understood the economics of it, he understood the management and distribution. He had a chokhmah which was unequaled. And he had a chokhmah how to handle Paro, and he now was using his chokhmah to try and find a solution to reunite a fragmented family. How was he going to find that solution? But he knew it was somewhere, Belev Ish. It was in the heart of Yehuda. But Ish Tvuno Yidleno, he had to draw it out. What would be this solution? How is he going to find it? And this is a tremendously fascinating analysis of this event, which is, I say, relevant to every individual. Every human being has, in some way, the lev and the moyach of every individual is functioning side by side, and often not in harmony. Often the lev is pulling in one direction. The heart has certain desires and certain levels of ego and passion and jealousy or whatever it is. And the moyach, the mind, is able to understand what the truth is, but the mind and the heart are often not synchronized. But the goal of the Torah, the challenge of the Torah is, as the Pasuk says in Devarim, v'yodato hayom v'hashivosa el levavecha, that the v'yodato, the yediyah, the understanding of the mind, is v'hashivosa el levavecha, should educate the heart, right? And therefore use all the energy and the passion and the motivation of the heart to go in the direction, but the direction has to be mapped out by the moyach, by the brain. This is Yehuda and Yosef throughout Jewish history, says the Shem Shmuel, till the very end. At the very end of time, Chazal tell us there's going to be a Mashiach ben Yosef and a Mashiach ben David. And this is once again Yosef and Yehuda working together. The Moyach and the Lev working together. What was the one idea that was going to solve this problem? And here it's very fascinating, because there's one word, a word that Yehuda invented, which nobody had ever said before in the history of mankind, and that word was the mafteach. But until Yosef heard that word, the problem wasn't solved. What was the word? The word was mentioned for the first time in last week's parsha, and for the second and final time in this week's parsha. Yaakov didn't want to let Binyamin go, until Yehuda says to him that I will guarantee his safety. So Yehuda says to Yaakov Avinu that he'll guarantee the safety of Binyamin, and as soon as he says that to Yaakov immediately agrees to send it. He doesn't just say I'll guarantee it. He says Ani ervenu miyodi tavakshenu. I'll be an orev. I'll put my life on the line to guarantee the safety of Binyamin. Chazal say that when he said those words, that was a tikkun. It was a remedy to the terrible words said many centuries earlier by Cain, Hashomer ochi onochi, am I my brother's keeper? Came along Yehuda and said, Onochi ervenu, I will risk my life, if necessary lose my life, in order to protect Binyamin. But Yosef hadn't heard this. And in this week's parsha, Yehuda tells Yosef a whole long story. And in that story, there's nothing really new. And you're wondering, why is he telling him this story? What effect is this going to have? He's appealing maybe to Yosef's mercy and pity. Benafsho kashura benafsho. But all that doesn't work. But as soon as Yehuda says to Yosef, Ani oravti es hanar, I became an orev for Binyamin, that was it. Yosef had drawn out of Yehuda's heart the one idea, which was the mafteach, which would solve Yehuda's problem and solve Yosef's problem. If Yehuda is willing to be an orev for Binyamin, if he's willing to be the ultimate guarantor for Binyamin, then that's it. Then Klal Yisrael have a future. Bnei Yisrael can reunite, and there can be an ultimate reconciliation. And this lays down the groundwork for what eventually becomes Kol Yisrael Arevim Ze Lo Ze. At the very end of his life, Moshe Rabbeinu, in Parshas Nitzavim, Atem Nitzavim Hayom La'ovrecho Bivris, he makes Klal Yisrael undertake another final covenant. And you wonder, what is this final covenant? They've had the bris of the rainbow, they've had the bris Milah, they've had the bris of Har Sinai, they've had the bris Bein Habsarim, they've had the covenants connecting them to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in every possible different way. What is he adding here? Say Chazal, Gemara and Sota, that in Parshas Nitzavim, the final covenant that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to extract from Klal Yisrael was Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Lo Zeh. The mutual arvus, the concern that every Jew has for every other Jew. That is the ultimate. That is the ultimate gift that Yehuda gave to Klal Yisrael. He invented that word, and that was the mafteach to both the problems of Yosef and of Yehuda. But it took Yosef to really ish tevunas yidlena, to extract it from his heart and utilize it in order to solve these problems. And here we find a very fascinating a model, says the Shem Mishmuel, of how the moach and the leiv, the heart and the mind, can be synchronized and can work together in harmony, and that is really the key to every person's avodas Hashem. And this is the bracha that we get from this week's parsha from Yehuda and Yosef, that Vayigash he stepped forward, and from the chemistry of both of them, it started with hostility and tension and a challenging a meeting, but it ended with unity, with reconciliation, and with the mayim amukim, the deep thoughts in the heart of Yehuda. I'd like to add one thing that the Zohar writes, that there's an expression of this idea in our daily tefillah, and this is a Gemara in Brachas Daf Daled, which says, "Kol hasomech geula letefillah hu ben olam haba." How can you become a ben olam haba? How can you become somebody who could be on the way to gaining a great place in Olam Haba? Somech geula letefillah, to connect your Kriyas Shema, which ends with Goal Yisrael, to tefillah. Say Chazal, what does it mean, somech geula letefillah? So the Zohar says that the geula, the Kriyas Shema, that is the moyach. When we say Hashem Echad, that is the ultimate idea in the brain which needs to guide us in all our activities, the Yirat Shamayim, the thoughts and the ideas of Yirat Shamayim and Shavisi Hashem Lenegdi Samid, that's Kriya Shema. That is Yosef. But then the Tefillah, for that you need La'ovda B'chol Levavchem, Avoda Shebelev, that's Yehuda. Says the Zohar, Tefillah is Yehuda. Yehuda is the ultimate mispalel. David HaMelech with his Tehillim is the ultimate mispalel. Yosef has the moyach. Yosef understands Yichud Hashem and Yiras Hashem at a level that nobody else can. If we're able to be Seimech Geula L'Tfilah, if we're able to attach and connect the power of the truth of the Shema to the passion of the davening, then we have reenacted Vayigash Elov Yehuda, says the Zohar. That connection between Yosef and Yehuda, the moyach and the leiv of the individual, and with that we can stand before HaKadosh Baruch Hu and daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu that indeed not only Klal Yisrael should be united, but actually Klal Yisrael should be able to develop all the mayim amukim, all the deep waters and thoughts and ideas, and that should bring a bracha on us, for our families, and for Klal Yisrael, the Dorei Doros, v'chein yehi ratzon.